Are you tired of leaving the garden centre with an empty wallet? Imagine walking past those expensive rows of root boosters and soil inoculants without feeling the need to spend a single dime. Today we are talking about Mycorrhiza. You know, that magical white powder that promises to turn your weak seedlings into giant, heavy-yielding monsters. Garden stores love to sell it to you for $20 or $30 a pop. But what if I told you that you never have to buy it again? That is right. I am going to show you how to get the absolute best quality Mycorrhiza for completely free. It sounds crazy, but garden companies have been packaging up a free natural resource and selling it back to you at a massive premium. By the end of this video, you will know the exact secrets to cultivating your own endless supply of these beneficial fungi right in your own backyard. It is easier than baking a cake. We are going to expose the great gardening lie that says you have to buy soil health in a plastic bottle. Are you ready to stop wasting your money and start gardening smarter? Let me know in the comments right now if you have ever fallen for the expensive fertilizer trap. Let us dive in. Before we start brewing up our free garden gold, we need to understand exactly what we are dealing with. Mycorrhiza is not just some fancy gardening buzzword. The word itself translates to fungus root. It refers to an ancient, incredibly powerful symbiotic relationship between a fungus and the roots of a plant. Millions of years ago, when plants first moved from the ocean to land, they did not have efficient root systems. They teamed up with underground fungi to survive. The fungus attaches to the plant roots and casts a massive web of tiny threads into the soil. This web acts like a giant sponge. It reaches water and nutrients that the plant could never reach on its own. In exchange, the plant feeds the fungus natural sugars created through photosynthesis. It is a beautiful, natural trade agreement. Fast forward to modern times. Clever scientists figured out how to isolate these spores. Then, savvy marketers put them in shiny tubs with flashy labels. They convinced us that our gardens would fail without their specific, store-bought brand. But nature has been running this fungal network perfectly for hundreds of millions of years without a cash register in sight. Your local ecosystem is already packed with these beneficial helpers. Let us start with the biggest myth sold in garden centres today. You walk into a brightly lit store. You see a tiny, shiny jar claiming to hold millions of magical fungal spores. The price tag is $20 or maybe $30. The label promises a miracle for your tomatoes. But here is the hard truth. You are often paying for dead dust. Many of these commercial products sit on hot warehouse shelves for months. Then they sit in freezing delivery trucks. By the time you buy that expensive jar, a huge percentage of those living organisms have already died from extreme temperatures. The idea that you must buy this specific brand name powder to get a healthy garden is simply a marketing illusion. Think about a wild, untouched forest. Nobody is out there sprinkling expensive powders on the giant oak trees. Yet the forest thrives. The trees grow massive. The soil is incredibly rich and full of life. Why? Because nature provides this fungal network absolutely free of charge. The companies want you to believe their lab-grown strains are superior to anything else. But local fungi, already perfectly adapted to your specific climate and soil, will almost always outperform a generic commercial strain. So, the very first step to saving your hard-earned money is shifting your mindset right now. Realize that you are surrounded by this natural resource every time you step outside. You just need to know how to invite it into your own garden beds. So how do we actually catch these invisible helpers? The secret lies in a traditional method used by brilliant farmers for generations. It is a core part of what is known as Korean natural farming. We are going to build a very simple fungus trap. Do not worry, it sounds much more complicated than it actually is. You do not need any laboratory equipment or special degrees. All you need is a wooden box or a small woven basket and some plain, everyday white rice. Yes, just simple, cheap white rice from your kitchen pantry. This rice is going to act as the perfect, irresistible bait for our local fungal network. Think of it like setting out cheese for a mouse, but much cleaner and incredibly beneficial for your yard. You see, Fungi are always desperately searching for an easy source of carbohydrates to consume. When you provide them with perfectly cooked rice, they simply cannot resist moving in and taking over. But you cannot just use raw, hard rice straight out of the plastic bag. The preparation of the bait is crucial for this method to actually work. We are going to cook the rice, but we are going to do it in a very specific way. You need to cook it so it is slightly firm, not mushy or wet. Too much moisture will attract the wrong kind of bacteria. We want a perfectly fluffy bed of carbohydrates. Now that you understand the concept of the rice trap, let us talk about the cooking process in detail. You want to steam the white rice until it is just fully cooked. It should be al dente, as if you were making a nice pasta. Once it is cooked, you absolutely must let it cool down completely. This is a very common mistake people make. If you put hot rice into your collection box, you will create condensation. Condensation leads to stagnant water, and stagnant water leads to foul-smelling, anaerobic bacteria. We do not want that. We want sweet, earthy-smelling, oxygen-loving fungi. So spread your cooked rice out on a baking sheet and let it reach normal room temperature. Once it is completely cool, place it gently into your wooden box, woven bamboo basket. Do not pack it down tightly. You want it loose and airy. Fungi need to breathe just like we do. If you smash the rice down into a dense brick, the fungi will not be able to penetrate the surface. They need those little air gaps between the grains to travel and multiply. Leave about 1/3 of the container empty at the top. Finally, cover the top of your container with a breathable material. A simple paper towel secured with a rubber band works perfectly. This keeps dirt and bugs out, but lets the essential air flow freely inside. With our trap properly built and baited, we need to find the perfect hunting ground. Location is absolutely everything when it comes to capturing the best local microorganisms. You do not want to place your box in a heavily manicured, chemically treated lawn. There is zero life left in soil that has been blasted with weed killers and synthetic fertilizers. Instead, you need to go for a walk and find an undisturbed natural area. Look for an old growth forest, a dense patch of native woods, or even a quiet overgrown corner of your local park. You are looking for a spot with a thick, healthy layer of fallen leaves covering the ground. This layer of decomposing organic matter is nature's bustling highway for mycorrhizal fungi. Look closely at the base of old, healthy, massive trees. Oak trees, pine trees, and maple trees are fantastic hosts. Carefully use your hands to brush away the top layer of dry, crunchy leaves. You want to dig down just a few inches until you find the sweet spot. This is the zone where the leaves are half rotted, smelling rich and earthy like a fresh rain. This incredibly active layer of soil is precisely where millions of hungry fungal spores are actively searching for their next big meal. This is exactly where you will deploy your homemade rice trap. Now comes the actual placement of your trap in the wild. You have found your perfect spot under a magnificent old tree right in the rich leaf litter. Carefully dig a shallow depression in that beautiful decomposing soil. You want the hole to be just deep enough so that the rim of your wooden box or basket sits totally level with the ground surface. Place the container gently into the shallow hole. Now, this next step is incredibly important for your success. You need to cover the box back up using the exact same leaves and natural debris that you just pushed aside. Do not bring outside soil to cover it. You are trying to seamlessly blend your trap into the natural environment. Mound the leaves over the top of the breathable paper towel cover. This thick layer of leaves acts like a natural roof. It protects the rice from direct harsh sunlight, which would dry it out and kill the delicate fungi. It also hides the bait from hungry animals, like raccoons or squirrels, who might want a free carbohydrate snack. More importantly, it creates a perfectly dark, humid and cozy microclimate inside the box. Fungi absolutely love the dark and the damp. By burying the box just beneath the active leaf layer, you're putting your irresistible carbohydrate bait directly in the natural path of the growing fungal web. Once your trap is securely hidden under the forest floor, the hardest part begins. You must simply walk away and wait. Patience is the absolute key to capturing high-quality native fungi. You cannot rush nature. The amount of time you need to wait will depend heavily on the weather and the current season. If it is warm and slightly humid outside, the biological activity will be very fast. In ideal summer or early fall conditions, you might only need to wait about 4 to 6 days. However, if the weather is cooler, it might take a full week or even up to 10 days for the fungi to fully colonize the rice. Do not constantly check on it. Every time you uncover the box, you disrupt the delicate temperature and humidity levels. Just mark the spot mentally, or leave a subtle marker like a specific stick, so you do not lose your box in the woods. While you are waiting, an invisible war is happening under those leaves. Local highly adapted fungi are discovering your cooked rice. Because the rice is such a dense, easy food source, the fungi will explode in population. They will race to cover every single grain. This is the magic of natural farming. We are simply providing a highly concentrated food source to rapidly multiply the life that is already thriving perfectly in the local ecosystem. Let us fast forward to the exciting day of the harvest. It has been about a week. You go back to your secret spot in the woods. You gently pull away the protective layer of leaves. You lift the box out of the ground and carefully remove the paper towel cover. What you see inside should look absolutely magical. If the process worked perfectly, your plain white rice will no longer look like rice. It will be completely covered in a fluffy, beautiful cotton-like substance. It should look like a miniature winter wonderland inside your box. This thick, white fuzz is the pure mycelium. It is millions of strands of the beneficial fungi we have been talking about. Lean in close and give it a gentle sniff. It should smell incredibly sweet, rich, and earthy. It should smell like the essence of a deep forest after a warm spring rain. If you see this beautiful white fuzz and smell that wonderful earthy aroma, you have successfully captured native, highly active indigenous microorganisms. You have just produced a product that garden stores charge a premium for, and you did it using a handful of leftover kitchen rice. This white fuzzy rice is now essentially a turbocharged, highly concentrated biological inoculant. It is ready to completely transform the health and vigour of your garden plants. However, we need to talk about what happens when things do not go perfectly according to plan. Nature is unpredictable, and sometimes other things find your trap first. When you open your box, you might not see a pristine white winter wonderland. You might see patches of dark black, bright green, or dark orange colours spreading across the rice. If you see these harsh colours, or if the box smells sour, rotten, or like dirty gym socks, you need to stop immediately. Do not use this rice in your precious garden. The bright colours and foul smells mean that bad, anaerobic bacteria or harmful moulds have taken over your bait. This usually happens if the rice was cooked too wet, if the box got flooded by heavy rain, or if the environment was just too swampy. But do not be discouraged if this happens on your very first try. It happens to everyone who learns this natural method. Simply throw that bad batch of rice into your compost pile. The heat of the compost will break it down harmlessly. Then, wash your box, cook a fresh batch of slightly drier rice, and try again in a different location. Maybe choose a spot slightly higher up on a hill, where water drains better. Capturing the perfect white fuzz is an art, and it might take 2 or 3 tries to learn the exact rhythm of your local woods. Let us assume your harvest was a massive success. You are staring at a box full of gorgeous, white, fuzzy rice. But right now, those fungi are highly active and very vulnerable. If you leave them out in the open, they will quickly consume all the remaining rice, run out of food, and die. We need to stabilise them immediately to preserve their incredible power. To do this, we are going to use another cheap, everyday household item. We are going to use plain brown sugar. You can also use molasses if you prefer. You need to weigh your fuzzy rice. Let us say you have exactly 1 pound of fuzzy rice. You will need exactly 1 pound of brown sugar. You want a perfect 1-to-1 ratio by weight. Put your fuzzy rice into a large clean glass jar. Now pour the brown sugar directly over the top of the rice. get your hands in there and gently massage the sugar into the fungal mass. You want to make sure every single grain of rice is completely coated in the sugar. The sugar is going to act like a preservative, almost like making a jam out of fruit. By combining equal parts of the fungal mass and the sugar, you are pulling the moisture out of the fungi and forcing them into a state of suspended animation. They will go to sleep completely safe and preserved. Once you have thoroughly mixed the fuzzy rice and the brown sugar together in the jar, you're going to cover the top with a fresh paper towel and a rubber band. You are now going to let this mixture sit undisturbed on your kitchen counter or in a dark pantry for about 5 to 7 days. During this time, a fascinating scientific process called osmosis will occur. The dry sugar will aggressively pull all the liquid juices right out of the fungal cells and the rice. When you check on the jar a week later, you will see something completely different. The solid mass will have mostly liquefied. You will be left with a dark, rich, syrupy liquid resting at the bottom of the jar. This thick syrup is absolute liquid gold for your garden. It is a highly stabilized, incredibly concentrated liquid extract of local, beneficial microorganisms. It is packed full of dormant fungal spores and beneficial bacteria that are just waiting to wake up. This syrup can be safely stored in a sealed jar in a cool, dark place for many months or even up to a year. You have successfully created a shelf-stable, premium-grade, biological booster. And best of all, it did not cost you $20 at a retail store. It cost you a cup of rice and a cup of sugar. Now that you have your magical liquid syrup, how do you actually use it to replace those store-bought products? It is incredibly simple and highly cost-effective. Because this liquid is so heavily concentrated, a tiny bit goes a very long way. When you are ready to use it in your garden, you do not pour the syrup directly onto your plants. That would be far too strong. Instead, you need to dilute it with clean water. The general rule of thumb is to mix just 1 tablespoon of your fungal syrup into 1 whole gallon of water. Think about that for a second. From that single jar of syrup you made, you can create dozens and dozens of gallons of premium liquid fertilizer and root inoculant. Stir the tablespoon of syrup into your watering can until it is completely dissolved. The moment the dormant fungi hit the fresh water, they begin to wake up. They realize the sugar coma is over and they are ready to get to work. Now simply take your watering can and drench the soil around your tomato plants, your fruit trees, or your indoor house plants. As the liquid soaks into the dirt, those millions of awakened spores will instantly seek out the roots of your plants. They will attach themselves and begin building that massive underground web, supercharging the growth of your garden. But what if you do not want to deal with cooking rice and mixing sugar? What if you want a dry powder, exactly like the stuff they sell in the plastic tubs at the store? Well, I have a second amazing method for you. We can actually farm Mycorrhiza using a living host plant. This method is incredibly reliable because it mimics exactly how the fungi grow in wild nature. To start this method, you need a very simple, cheap plastic bucket. Drill a few holes in the bottom for water drainage. Now we need the right kind of soil. Do not use sterilized, expensive potting soil from a bag. We want poor, sandy, nutrient-deficient soil. You can literally just dig up some sandy dirt from an empty lot or a dry patch in your yard. Fill your bucket mostly full with this poor quality dirt. Why poor soil? Because mycorrhizal fungi only thrive when the plant actually needs them. If you use super rich compost, the plant has all the food it needs and it will reject the fungal connection. We want the plant to struggle just a little bit. We want it to be desperate for nutrients, so it sends out chemical signals, begging the fungi to attach to its roots. This is the secret to forcing a massive explosion of fungal spores in a contained environment. Next, we need to introduce the starting culture to our bucket of sandy dirt. You do not need much to get the process started. Go back to that healthy forest or that giant thriving tree in your neighborhood. Dig down near the roots and grab just 1 single handful of that rich, active native soil. That one handful contains thousands of natural spores. Bring that handful of wild soil home and mix it thoroughly into the top layer of the sandy dirt in your bucket. Now we need to plant our host crop. The fungi need a living root system to feed on and multiply. The absolute best host plants for this process are simple grasses. You can use bahia grass seeds, oat seeds, or even simple corn kernels. Grasses grow massive, incredibly dense root systems very quickly, giving the fungi endless real estate to colonize. Plant a thick handful of grass seeds directly into the bucket. Water them gently and place the bucket in a bright, sunny spot. As the grass seeds sprout and begin to grow, their roots will desperately search through the poor sandy soil for nutrients. They will immediately encounter the wild spores you mixed in. A beautiful partnership will instantly form. The fungi will attach to the baby grass roots and begin to multiply at a rapid pace. You are going to let this grass grow in the bucket for about 2 to 3 months. Just water it normally, keeping it alive and green. During this time, the grass looks totally normal on top, but underneath the soil, a massive, dense network of white fungal threads is completely taking over the bucket. They are wrapping around every single root hair. Now comes the most critical step for making your dry powder. We need to stress the system to force the fungi to create spores. In nature, when winter approaches or a drought hits, fungi sense danger. They realize their host plant might die. To ensure their own survival, they panic and produce millions of hard, tiny spores. These spores are like seeds that can sleep for years waiting for better conditions. We are going to trigger this exact survival mechanism in our bucket. After the grass has grown thick for 3 months, simply stop watering it completely. Cut off the water supply and let the bucket sit in the hot sun. The grass will slowly turn brown, wither, and die. It looks sad, but this is exactly what we want. As the grass dries out and dies, the fungi attached to the roots will panic. They will rapidly convert all their energy into producing billions of highly resilient spores. Wait until the grass is completely dead and the soil in the bucket is bone dry. It needs to be dry all the way to the bottom. Now, take a pair of heavy-duty scissors or garden shears and chop the dead brown grass right off at the soil line. Throw the top green parts into your compost. We do not need them. What we want is the underground treasure. Carefully dump the completely dry contents of the bucket out onto a tarp. You will see a massive, tangled brick of dry roots and sandy dirt. Take those shears and start chopping that root ball up into the tiniest pieces you possibly can. You want to aggressively cut the roots into pieces less than ½ an inch long. This dry, sandy, heavily chopped root mixture is your final product. Every single tiny piece of root in that pile is absolutely coated in billions of dormant mycorrhizal spores. You have just successfully created a massive pile of premium, high-grade inoculant. If you look closely, you have essentially recreated the exact same product that the garden centres sell in those shiny plastic tubs. But instead of paying $30 for 8 ounces, you just created a massive 5-gallon bucket of the stuff for absolutely pennies. Now you have a massive pile of this potent dry fungal powder. How do you use it to guarantee massive plant growth? The application is incredibly straightforward. The golden rule of Mycorrhiza is that the spores must physically touch the roots of your new plant to work. You cannot just sprinkle this dry powder on top of the soil and hope it works its way down. The sun will kill it. When you are starting seeds indoors or potting up small vegetable seedlings, this powder is your secret weapon. Take a small pinch of your chopped root mixture and drop it directly into the bottom of the planting hole before you put the seedling in. When you place your tomato or pepper plant into the hole, its roots will rest directly on top of your homemade inoculant. As soon as you water the plant, the dormant spores will instantly recognize the living roots. They will wake up, attach themselves immediately, and begin expanding their network. Your seedling will suffer zero transplant shock. Instead, it will immediately tap into a massive underground water and nutrient delivery system. Your plants will grow thicker stems, produce greener leaves, and yield significantly more fruit than plants grown in dead soil. This dry root method is especially powerful when you are planting new fruit trees or large shrubs in your yard. Trees rely heavily on mycorrhizal networks to survive harsh summers and cold winters. When you dig a large hole for a new apple tree, take a few big handfuls of your homemade root powder and rub it vigorously directly onto the bare roots of the tree. Toss another handful directly into the bottom of the planting hole. As the tree settles into its new home, it is immediately protected and fed by the biology you provided. The fungi will extend the tree's root system by up to 100 times its normal size. They will drill into microscopic pores in rocks to extract hidden phosphorus and zinc, delivering it straight to your tree. This means you will not need to buy bags of synthetic chemical fertilizers ever again. The biology handles the feeding for you. You are building a permanent, self-sustaining ecosystem right in your backyard. The store-bought tubs only give you a tiny, temporary boost. Your homemade method establishes an aggressive, locally adapted colony that will stay in your garden soil for decades, getting stronger and more resilient with every passing season. Let us address a common myth that garden companies use to scare you. They will tell you that making your own biology is dangerous, or that you might introduce diseases to your plants. This is simply a scare tactic to protect their massive profits. When you collect fungi from a healthy, thriving native forest, you are collecting a balanced ecosystem. In a healthy forest soil, the good microbes severely outnumber the bad ones. The beneficial fungi are so aggressive and dominant that they naturally suppress harmful pathogens. It is a natural system of checks and balances. When you introduce this balanced wild biology to your garden, the good guys immediately take over. They physically shield your plant roots, leaving no room for root rot or harmful diseases to take hold. Store-bought soils are completely sterilized. They are dead. When you plant in dead soil, the first spore that lands on it takes over. Often, that is a disease spore. By using your free, homemade indigenous microbes, you are creating a biological fortress around your plants. You are actually protecting them from disease far better than any expensive chemical fungicide ever could. You might be wondering if you have to repeat this entire process every single year. The beautiful answer is no. Once you have successfully established a strong, mycorrhizal network in your garden beds, it becomes a permanent resident. The fungi will naturally attach to the roots of your perennials and winter cover crops, surviving happily year after year. The only way you can destroy this free system is if you go back to bad habits. If you brutally rototill your soil every spring, you will physically slice the delicate fungal webs to pieces. If you pour heavy synthetic salt fertilizers or chemical weed killers on the dirt, you will burn and kill the biology. To protect your investment, you must switch to a no-till gardening method. Simply lay a fresh compost and organic mulch on top of your beds. Let the worms and the fungi do the hard work of pulling the nutrients down into the root zone. Treat your soil like a living, breathing organism, because that is exactly what it is. As long as you keep the soil covered and avoid harsh chemicals, the free biology you harvested from the woods will multiply and work tirelessly for you for the rest of your gardening life. The transition from being a consumer to being a producer is the most powerful step you can take in your gardening journey. You no longer have to rely on giant corporations to tell you what your soil needs. You do not have to buy into the flashy marketing campaigns. By understanding how nature actually works, you have unlocked a literal goldmine of free resources. Whether you choose to capture the white fuzz with the rice trap method or grow massive root balls in a bucket of sand, you are taking control of your garden's health. You are saving hundreds, if not thousands of dollars over the years. You are growing plants that are more nutrient-dense, more drought-resistant, and naturally defended against pests. Gardening is not about buying the right products. It is about understanding the natural processes that have governed plant life since the dawn of time. So, walk past those expensive garden store shelves with absolute confidence. You have the knowledge to brew something far superior right in your own kitchen and backyard. Let the giant companies keep their dead powders. We are going to grow with the living, breathing power of nature itself. Who would have ever guessed that the greatest secret to an incredibly lush, high-yielding garden is already hiding under the dead leaves in your local woods? We have totally shattered the myth that you need to spend $20 or $30 on tiny plastic tubs of commercial root boosters. You now know 2 incredibly powerful, completely free methods to harvest and multiply your own premium mycorrhiza. Whether you use the sweet syrup from the rice trap or the dry powder from the grass bucket, you are unlocking the exact same biological power that builds giant, ancient forests. The plot twist here is beautiful. The garden industry convinced us to buy something that nature has been giving away for free for millions of years. By tapping into local, indigenous microorganisms, you are not just saving money, you are actually giving your plants a superior, locally adapted defense system that no factory can replicate. It is time to stop enriching the fertilizer companies and start enriching your own soil. If this video opened your eyes and helped save your wallet, please hit that subscribe button and give the video a big thumbs up so we can share these secrets with more gardeners. Now I want to hear from you. Which method are you going to try first, the rice trap or the bucket method? Drop your answer in the comments below and let us get a biological revolution started in our backyards.